What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tierfawn Orbital. So today I would like to talk about another Kylo Ren concept art inspired hilt. This is an install that I did on a Heart of Siberia that was designed by Denis Lukyanov. I've done a number of installs on this hilt. So this is the same chassis that I've done on previous installs. So this is going to be a relatively quick demo. I do want to come into Fusion and talk really quickly about the chassis, and then we will come up top, talk about how to use it, and then we will put a blade in it, do a demo, and we'll be on our way, right? This is going to be a relatively quick one, right? So let's come into Fusion and talk about this chassis. All right, so here it is. This is the chassis that I designed for this hilt. Went old school with this one. This one was done in resin, right? There was just so much greebly work on this one. There's so much intricate like ridges and stuff. I just decided to keep it simple and just do this one in resin, okay? I don't know why I did that. So at the bottom, let's start at the bottom. 28 millimeter dark side elite speaker from, actually no, I think I put an elite speaker in this one. This is a 28 millimeter elite speaker from Smugglers Outpost in this one. There is a trench here for a 2020 neopixel strip. This is to allow for some shine through in the pommel area. So I've done two versions of an install on this hilt. One is just a regular straightforward chassis. The other is this version of the chassis that gives us some shine through in the pommel area. The customer for this particular install specifically asked for this version of the chassis to give us some shine through in there, okay? So that is where that 2020 neopixel strip is. On top of that 2020 neopixel strip, I put some plastic mesh, and I'll talk about that when we come up top. I'll talk about what I use when I do that, okay? Around back, we have our battery tray, okay? Do have some greebly work on one side. On the other side, there's just some, just basic ridges and greebly work. Around the back is our Proffie tray. At the bottom of the Proffie tray, we do have a kill switch. And that is it, right? Relatively simple setup. Up top is where I bring my leads to the upper part of the hilt, right? There is some other stuff going on in the crystal chamber of the hilt that I do want to talk about. I did wire up the upper part of the emitter to give us some extra shine through, but we'll talk about that in a second, right? So that's it. Let's come up top. All right, so here it is. This is the Heart of Siberia from Denis Lukyanov, based on the concept art Kylo Ren hilt, okay? This is so light holding this one compared to the CCsabers Slayer that I just did. This is very, very, very light. Profile-wise, it's a lot smaller too, right? So to the customer, I'll start off by saying this. I snipped your red wire, right? I snipped it so that it can just kind of be pulled out of this coupler here, so it can be way easier to take your grip off. That way you're not fishing this wire out every time you want to take the grip out. I also believe that this was glued in place from the factory, right? So to get your grip off, it would have been a huge pain in the butt, right? So it's been snipped here, and that way you can get your grip off a lot easier, right? We do have some steel ball tactile switches. These were included with the hilt. I do make just very small custom switch holders to help secure these in place. They are epoxied on the underside of this housing in here, okay? We have a very, very small quartz point in here. A very, very keen person with a very, very good set of eyes did ask why this crystal is so small. So on the inside of this, I can understand why somebody would ask that. They've clearly never held this hilt in person. On the inside of this crystal chamber, the holes where the crystal is housed, where it needs to be affixed, that hole is a very, very small hole. In fact, it's smaller than a neopixel. So you've got to have a crystal that is small enough to slide through that hole. So that is why that crystal is so small. That is actually a rose quartz point that is in that crystal chamber. It is lit from below with one single neopixel. Up top, there is not a hole. So you can't have a neopixel shining from above to light the crystal from above. However, there are vents up here. So what I did was I created a custom PCB holder up top with a neopixel that shines down into that chamber. So we still get some like neopixel animation in here. We still get some shine through in these vents, but it doesn't point down into that chamber. That chamber is only lit from below, if that makes sense. Okay. And then, of course, on the chassis, we have that 2020 neopixel strip, and we'll see that in a second when we light it up, okay? So to get at your chassis, obviously unthread your grip. Here's that chassis. So I did a pass of pewter rub and buff on this one. I did paint some of those accents on there. So in front of that 2020 neopixel strip, I do put some black mesh. Now somebody did ask in the comments section what I use for that. This is just simple magnet mesh for computer fans. I get this on Amazon, and I cut it to size. Okay, I cut like a strip long enough to size, and then I glue it in place. That's all. That's all that is. And it's just glued in front of the 2020 neopixel strip. I like doing that because obviously if you don't, you've got a white, like a white neopixel strip, and I feel like that would just like totally clash with the dark of the chassis. So I wanted to kind of mask that a little bit, okay? So to use your hilt, spring side is your negative. You want to take the flat part of your battery, negative side towards the speaker, hit your kill switch. So there is that 2020 neopixel strip at the bottom. Lit crystal chamber. You can kind of see up in here, there is a neopixel lighting that upper area. Okay. All right.
Inquisitorious.
Tried to do different animations for that ring on each font. So once you get your battery in and you're on, you're ready to go. So there's that, we can get that 2020 neopixel strip shine through in that pommel area. Okay, let's come down to the bottom. Right, so there's that lit crystal chamber. It is a beautiful crystal chamber. Let me put that wire in place real quick. Yeah, that's the only caveat with both versions of Kylo's hilt, the film accurate version, the film version and the concept art version. This external wire, it's always a pain with the grip, obviously, because you've got to like remove it when you want to unthread the grip. So let's put a blade in it. Okay, so another thing I really like about this version of the hilt is that this emitter section is a steel. And actually, yeah, it's steel. It's a steel emitter, so you can unthread this and heat stain it. I really, really like that. So 1-inch blade holder. You want to rest your blade on those PCB pins. This pan head screw in the front serves as your blade retention, which I also find a really, really cool feature, right? So you want to tighten that. Whoops. Tighten that, and you're good to go. Wow, hilt. One more. Was that crystal lit? All right. One more. Let's see what else to put on here.
I came to warn you, Jedi.
All right. So that is it. That is the Heart of Siberia from Denis Lukyanov. To the customer, you also requested that your animations for your crystal chamber and this neopixel ring be on for as long as possible. I didn't want to set it to be on for like an hour, so I set them for 25 minutes on each of them. So after 25 minutes, they will time out and it will go to sleep, right? Proffie board doesn't exactly have technically deep sleep. But you did mention that you like to carry this around at Galaxy's Edge and you wanted them to be on for as long as possible. So they're set to 25 minutes, just so you know. And you can obviously, as you know, you can change that in the config if you want, which I will put on your SD card before I get this out. So I think that's it. To the customer, thank you very much for your patience. If anyone has any questions about this particular build or this install or anything really, please do not be a stranger. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.